Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of the Chant. I played it on the Xbox Series X. It's also available on the Series S, PS5, and PC. So let's get into the story. You play as Jess. You are invited on a weekend retreat by your old friend Kim, and the goal is to kind of settle some old difficulties. But I'll tell you right away, the brochure they show you and the dude you meet, it's all really culty. Like, it is some of the cultiest cult stuff to have ever been culty. And one thing I do love is Jess totally calls that out, like, pretty quickly, and I like that. But as you can probably guess, man, the cult stuff goes horribly wrong after a tea ceremony, which is supposed to do all sorts of, like, prismatic realignment and so on. And it summons the Gloom. Now, the Gloom are both creatures as well as areas that are infected by the Gloom. And it is your goal to basically undo all of it. And I'm going to say the endings left me kind of wanting, especially the ending I got. I went and watched the other endings, but the one I got was definitely my least favorite of the endings. But overall, I enjoyed the story. The ending just wasn't my favorite bit. Now let's get into the audio. And the first thing I'm going to say is the voice acting quality varies. I think the gal who did Jess does a good job. But the other characters, they're hit or miss. Some lines come off very well done, and others are not as well done. But I do think it's good enough to get the points across. It just could be better. As for the music, I think the music in this game is very good. I really like it. I think it works well with the overall everything. And I gotta say that's true of the sound effects, except for one that drove me nuts for some reason, because I just noticed it. Whenever you're going up and down a ladder, it sounds like, you know, one of those aluminum ladders, but you're going up like these mounted steel ladders that don't make a sound anything like that. And it's noticeable when you go up and down enough ladders, or at least I noticed it, and now you're probably gonna notice it. But let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and this is definitely a third-person survival horror game. And I think they actually do some interesting things. There's a crafting mechanic, and you craft, like, occult weapons is I think what they're called. And you craft a variety of them, like you have a sage that you're burning and it disperses things. And each of the weapons, one of the cool things is each of the weapons have different effects. Like, the Fire Lash specifically is better when you're fighting outside than indoors. The Burnt Sage helps with swarms. I think that's really cool that they broke that down, and then that applies to the different enemies as well. All the enemies have their own unique weaknesses. I mean, I kind of blunt forced my way through most of it, but I think that was actually a really cool element. The prisms you get in the game, you can explore more areas the more prisms you have, but there are certain areas that are all color-coded, and you can't go into those areas if you don't have that prism. And each prism comes with its own ability. Like, one will slow down your enemies, one will, like, push them back, etc. And I like the way they did that. I think they did a good job progressing through the game, and originally I was actually going to bitch and moan that this game needs a New Game Plus, but it really doesn't. There is, like, a leveling up system in the game. You find jars of, I don't remember what it is, prism something. There's a whole lot of prism stuff going on in this game, but you use that to upgrade your skills and abilities and all of that stuff. Health, mind, all of that. And really, I had almost maxed everything out by the time I reached the end of this fairly short game. It's about 6 hours. Oh, and you have your mind, body, and spirit, which are all basically gauges you need to maintain throughout the game. Mind is because of all the freaky psych stuff going on, and basically if you lose too much mind, you will have a panic attack and you really can't do anything in those situations. Body is health, and then you have spirit, which is basically your energy to use your prismatic abilities. And like any good survival horror game, you can choose to run or fight in a lot of situations, and it can be beneficial to run, really, because there are limited resources, and there were times where I was like, it's not worth it, I've got the room to maneuver, and so by the time I reached the end of the game, I was not low on resources. Now let's get into the controls, and I really don't have any complaints with the controls. I'm actually pretty happy with them. I think they functioned well. Let's get into the graphics and visuals, and I don't know if it's trying to be hyper-realistic. It didn't feel like it was, but it also didn't feel like it was going, like, too cartoony in the graphics, so it hits a weird point. I do think overall, visually, this is going to be one of those games where it doesn't age amazingly well, but if you're a fan, you'll still be able to appreciate it. That being said, I actually think the graphics worked well for the game. I think they did a good job really visually building it. Like, the design of the world, the camp you're in, really, I think they did a fantastic job with that, because it's dark, spooky woods, it's dark, spooky areas in general, but then you go into the gloom areas, those places infested with gloom, and they do a great job with that, making it feel creepy and alien, and I think they just got what they were going for across very well from a visual standpoint. The designs of the creatures were really well done, and I think the effects for the prismatic abilities as well as the weapons you use are also very well done. I just don't think graphically it's the strongest thing. I think visually it looks good, they capture the vibe they're going for, the art style is pretty cool in a lot of ways, but if they're going for, you know, realism, they don't quite hit that mark. But it's not a AAA game, so that is understandable, or at least more understandable. So to wrap this up, I gotta say, I actually really enjoyed this game. I was interested in it. I think I heard about it about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, I'll check that out if I get the chance, and I'm glad I got the chance because I had a good time with it. I think it's worth the money. I will recommend it. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, would you rock those white pajamas from the game or not? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me what's your favorite cult? I don't know, that's kind of dark, isn't it?